Hello everyone and welcome to the weekly live stream. Now for some reason oh no, never mind. I was about to say I can't see anything on the stream, but you can see it now. As you can see, we are going to Spa-Francorchamps, and today we are taking some skip Barber cars. So this should be very interesting because skip Barber cars are not the kind of thing you'd expect to be seeing at Spa-Francorchamps. I expect we're going to get some quite slow lap times, seeing as this is a very long circuit, 4.35 miles as you can see. And to make it even more interesting, I factored in a bit of weather as well. So it's going to be a little bit damp, and it's going to be a little bit cold, and it's not really going to be very pleasant for driving little single-seaters in, but that's exactly what we're going to get these AIs to do. Now I'm just writing out the title of the video, of the stream again, because I realised I got it wrong, and for some reason I can't speak and type at the same time, so I'll just be quiet for a second. Perfect, right, done that. Okay, so we are just loading into the track, and then there is going to be a quick 10-minute qualifying session. I've gone back to the 10-minute qualifying sessions, followed by a 15-minute race, which should be very very interesting. That's 15 minutes at maximum, of course. Now I need to go to controls and just set up all of that. Has it got the? Yeah, it's got the right pause thing. Jolly good. Right, also I'm going to turn down my game sound because it's a bit loud. There we go, sorted out. Now you can actually hear me. Okie dokie. Well, let's get this underway. Right. Oh dear. Okay, so skip Barber cars in the rain at Spa. This can only go one way, and that's well. I should probably tell people that I'm streaming. Actually, I'm going to get the link and put this on Twitter. Normally I do this before I start the stream, but I made a complete mess of setting up the start of the stream, so I forgot to. Again, for some reason I can't type and speak at the same time, so I'm going to be dipping in and out of actually speaking very, very briefly, and then I'll be right back for the race. Okay, so that's sorted out. Hello to the people who are joining us in the stream. I think we have one extra person watching now. So whoever you are, welcome in. I'm not really expecting a lot of viewers anyway. Never really get them, but never mind. Oh dear, right. But of course today we have a very interesting race because I've never seen skip Barber cars at Spa before. I've never seen skip Barber cars in the rain before, and to be honest, Spa in the rain is always a bit of an interesting one, so it'll be good to see what happens here. It looks like our first driver out is going to be a certain Richie Speed. Now, of course, none of these drivers are actual real drivers. These are all AIs, and that means that the names that I'm saying are not actually real people, and if they are any real people, that's not who's driving. So, whew, what was that? Bit of a wiggle to get out onto the circuit. Actually, there's a guy out ahead of him there. Who else is on track? Just gone up a Rouge Radion there. Not you. Wojtek Kedzierski. So, Wojtek Kedzierski is our first driver on track in the number 69, heading up to a very damp Licorne. Braking down to 62 miles per hour through there. Of course, this is only an 8 lap, so we're not going to be seeing them driving at their full potential here. Ooh, bit of a wiggle through the third part of Le Con there. That was interesting. Also, I'm really not sure how daring the AI drivers actually get when it's wet. I've never really experimented with letting the AI drivers at a wet track before, so I don't know how good they'll be at controlling it, whether they'll be sliding off, or whether they're just going to be too cautious and back out and not make any moves or anything like that. I really don't know. So this will certainly be an interesting one to experiment with, and one that is definitely a very experimental AI live stream. But we'll see what happens with just under 8 minutes remaining in this session. I reckon that these drivers are going to get 2 or 3 hot laps if they're lucky. Probably only 2, because if you remember, the AIs don't really like to set laps if the session time is ticked to 0, so they tend to pop back into the pits even if they have the potential of going quicker. So I reckon that 2 hot laps is the maximum that we're going to see here from the AI drivers, and that's an advantage for us, I reckon, as TV viewers, of having such a long track, because it means that you get a lot less of a predictable qualifying session, if that makes sense. So because the drivers only get 2 chances, it means that any mistakes are worth more, and they cost you more time, and they're worse for your performance, of course. And that means that it's essential that you get it right. And of course, with the conditions as well, as bad as they are, I reckon that Wojtek Kwiatkowski here has made a very good call by being the first driver out. I'm surprised there weren't more queuing up at the end of the pit lane. I'm sure in reality there were, because it looks to me like the conditions are only getting worse and worse. So if you're the first to set your lap, then that's a very good strategy indeed. Now we're going to ride on board with Kwiatkowski as we round this Spa-Francorchamps circuit, and we can show you just how it looks in these conditions. So we're heading down the straight now between turns 1 and 2. Turn 2 is Eau Rouge, turn 3 is Radiant. You can see it's not flat in these conditions by any stretch of the imagination, backing off dramatically, actually going dead down the middle of the road there, which is interesting. I wouldn't have expected that would be the ideal line, but I suppose you just don't want to get on those white lines or anywhere near them, because that's where all the water's going to be, and that's where you're going to well, that's where the slipperiest part is going to be, so that's where you're going to lose the most traction. I wouldn't have thought that driving directly down the middle of the road though would be the best option, but as you can see, that's exactly what the AIs are doing here. So interesting tactic, but anyway, we're watching this lap anyway. Of course, in the rain, you get a very different style of driving that actually makes the car quick. It's not so much that you need to be worried about your racing lines and things like that, because the lines change with the water finding itself in different places on the track. The drivers have to alter their lines depending on what's dry and what's wet, and etc. But it's more about how brave you can be on the brakes and on the throttle, and just how brave you are as a driver. And that's why they call the rain the great equalizer, because it's all about, well, it's much more about driving ability than about how good your car is. Now into Fania, and this right and left together is called Piff Path, and then you accelerate out of that and towards Stavelot, or what used to be called Stavelot. I believe it's now called Curva Pool Frere. Keeping it very tight on the exit there, that's interesting. And now out through the second part of Stavelot and up towards Blanchimont. Now Blanchimont's going to be absolutely frightening in these conditions. It could be like a skid pan. In the dry, of course, it's completely flat in pretty much any car you can drive. It's this little kink here followed by this next one, which is the properly scary one that people refer to as Blanchimont. In the dry, you'd be getting right out over the exit curve there, and now down through a little dip. All the water will be grouping and clumping together here, and then into the bus stop chicane. There'll be water running down that. Out of the chicane comes Kedzierski, and across the line. What's the first lap going to be? I can imagine this will be, yeah, it's a 3:21.9. I was about to say it would be in the 3 minutes. Kalikari now, Kalikari rather. Ooh, someone getting very sideways there. The number 44, I think, getting very sideways, possibly. Well, you see something happening every now and again where the AIs will get up behind another driver and they'll swing on the wheel just to make sure they don't get they can make a pass or have an attempt at it, as you just saw there as well. And if they do that at the wrong part of the course, sometimes they can get over a curb or over a damp patch or into the gravel or something like that. That can be very, very dangerous. Carrie's making up a few positions here on track, actually, just going past the 99 on the outside, getting over the wet patch. You saw the rear sliding out there. Of course, the outside line, the line that Carrie was taking there, is one that not many drivers would have driven so far in this session. So that will be the wettest part of the circuit, and that's one place where you really don't want to put yourself in this session. Carrie now accelerating up towards Blanchimont. And now through the first of the two apexes, there it is. We really haven't got much time remaining in the session, actually, so really not many opportunities for drivers to set quick laps here. And I wonder whether anyone's actually going to set more than one lap. We'll have to see. It's going to be interesting. The number 44 looks as if he's attacking in the mirrors there, preparing for a hot lap, I reckon. I'm not entirely sure who that is. And Carrie crosses the line now. Where does that put her? Is that a female name or a male one? I'm not sure. Meanwhile, Richie Speed has gone to the top of the order by almost a second. That's good performance from Richie Speed. And Kedzierski is almost, well, he's about 3 seconds ahead of the person behind him. And that's what I was saying earlier about the importance of putting in your lap before the track gets more wet, because I think the track's got more wet now. So unless it dries out again, it looks as if the order's going to be Speed, Kedzierski at the top of the field. And look at this. You can see how the gaps have really been pulled out in this weather, because Sergio Galvo, his 13th, is 8.5. Oh, who's that? Oh dear, person just got absolutely ambushed from the inside. He's getting over the curb. That's spinning into the barrier. Oh dear, that's our first little incident of the weekend. Does he? Oh, he's lost his nose there. Let's pause that and go for a replay. It looks as if someone just dive bombed. Is that the 40? It's the 42. Just dive bombed John Person as they were going through Blanchimont. Got up the inside. Person didn't expect him to be there and turned in, then went wide. And now he's on the wettest part of the course and just loses it under acceleration into the wall. That's very reminiscent of Kimi Räikkönen in 2008. Now, who was that person? Who was that person who went through? I'm going to see if I can find out. It's the number 42 car. So where is the... Oh, someone's going sideways. Sam Moss. Where is the number 42? Oh, here we go. Eric Elliott. And this is what he saw of it. So Elliott, just carrying more speed through Blanchimont, goes up the inside of John Person here. Person doesn't see him and turns in. Interestingly, Elliott probably should have also turned in slightly earlier there. And there you see the incident in the rear view mirror. Whew, well, that's the end of that lap from Person there. And really, not many opportunities for anyone to go quicker. Person's going to have to pit this car now. Watch this, he's going to pop back into the pits, surely. Yes, he does. And that will mean he won't be setting a lap in this session, because there's no time left to go out and set another one. What about Nikita Prokopiev? Prokopiev, one driver who hasn't set a lap yet. Actually, I'm going to go up the order and see if any of these drivers can improve. What about Kedzierski. Kedzierski was our first driver across the line. He does not improve. What about Richie Speed? Oh, he's in the pits. That's our provisional pole man. Sam Moss is going to be the next driver through, and probably our last person with a shot at pole, although he was a long way down on his last lap rather. So I think that pole position here is going to go to Richie Speed, and I don't think there's anyone that can take that away from him now. Of course, Kedzierski and Speed made the good strategic call of going out sooner than everyone else, because the track's just been getting wetter and wetter since then, and there's been no opportunity for anyone to improve, and as a result, that's Kedzierski and Speed who have benefited from it, and Speed who takes pole position. There are still a few guys out on track, so I can't call pole position just yet. I'm going to keep an eye on this screen here, but I think that is the session over for good. Some drivers never even made it onto a lap. Julian Campillo, Richard Chmielewski. Those drivers never made it onto a lap, and there are a couple of drivers who only made it onto one. Look at this. Moss going side by side with someone who pops into the pits. And now out to the final corner. This isn't going to be quick. You see the timer already. It's ticked well past what it should be at. And that means that pole position does indeed go to Richie Speed. Unless any of these guys can improve, but I really don't think they'll be able to. I'm going to see where these guys put it anyway, because there are a couple of drivers who are on their first laps. However, Alessio Ramito and David O'Reilly have popped into the pits already. So I don't think that anyone's actually going to finish a lap. Who's ahead in this lap? Well, these guys have only just started the lap, Finnegan and Chmielewski. So I think that Eric Elliott here is the only driver who's actually on a lap out of this bunch. And whether he's going to finish it or not is a different matter. He's quicker than Moss in the second sector, I saw that. So whether he can go up in the third sector and possibly take third away is a different matter. Although I don't think so, seeing as the conditions have just been getting worse and worse. We'll see anyway. Through the final sector of this 10-minute qualifying session comes Eric Elliott. To be honest, this is a qualifying session that could have done with being 15 minutes. Maybe there would have been more of a competition. But anyway, Eric Elliott through the final sector up to the bus stop chicane. Bit of lag there actually. So yeah, he's pitting. So that is the end of the qualifying session. I'm just going to put the session to times 2 speed. Briefly, so that we can see if anyone else is going to set a lap, or whether that's that. Although I reckon that's that. Yeah, that's pretty much that. So I'm going to fast forward to the next session now. It's Richie Speed in pole, followed by Wojtek Kedzierski, and then Sam Moss, Kalikari, Craig Thomas, Aid Allen, Luke Longnecker, Noel Hibbard, Terence Calder, Eric Lebeau. I'll go through that in terms of how the cars actually look, so you get a good view of it. So there's Speed, Kedzierski, Moss, Carey, Thomas, Allen, Longnecker, Hibbard, Calder, Lebeau, and then it's Masatiri Suzuki, Christina Hartmann, Nikas Theodorikos, Niels Teig, Stephen Ciofalo, Sergio Galvao, yeah, Nikita Prokopiev, that's it. I was supposed to be starting at the back of the order, but that's interesting. I can just exit out of that. John Persson, Julian Campillo, Eric Elliott, Alessio Ramito, David O'Reilly, Brett Finucane, and Richard Chmielewski. So we're going to just load in like this so that the session can actually start. And then we can, yeah, right, exit to monitor, pause it there, and watch the start of the race. So it's Richie Speed on pole here ahead of Wojtek Kedzierski, who is going to get the best start. Watch for the lights. They go out, and away we go. Richie Speed leads us away. It's a good start from P6 on the grid there, but it looks as if Speed is going to have the lead of the race as we head through turn 1. Will Kwiatkowski be able to challenge around the outside? No, he doesn't. In fact, he gets assaulted by Craig Thomas from second position, and I think we're now 3 wide for the lead of the race. No, we're not, because Speed is ahead. Have we all made it through cleanly? Yes, we have. And now it's Speed leading up through the notorious Rouge Radion ahead of Wojtek Kwiatkowski, who goes very, very wide. And now look at second, Craig Thomas, who runs over the inside. Ooh, and off goes Kwiatkowski, spins, oh dear, into the pack, gets collected at a very low speed, but he's holding up quite a few people. Is there any damage? Does he still have a front wing? Does everyone else ahead of him still have a front wing? I believe we've all made it through relatively okay. Oh no, Eric Lebeau's off. He was running about 10th. Let's find a replay of that. What has happened to him? He's just had a twitch. There he goes, off at the top of the hill into the barrier. And it looks like an unsafe rejoin from here. Yeah, he gets going right into the remaining pack. Unfortunately, AIs do that. And who did he collect there? That is Richard Chmielewski. And let's watch that on board with all of those drivers. So the first driver who had troubles through there was Kwiatkowski from second on the grid. And it looks as if he just swung on the wheel to avoid the others, spun the car around, got tagged. And who's that? It's Luke Longnecker. Is there anything that he could have done about it? This is his replay. There's the spinning car. Oh, he really needed to steer left there. He didn't, but he really should have done. Now, who else was involved in the opening chaos? There goes Eric Lebeau. He'd made it up to 8th. And now he's just going to have a twitch that you see there. There he goes. And around he goes into the barrier. And now, without a front wing, it's just going to be a case of an unsafe rejoin. Bang! There you see it. He just completely ignored the fact that there were cars still coming through. And let's watch that on board with the car he collected. This is Richard Chmielewski. Oh dear, he just completely wiped him out. And that is bad driving there. And who else? I think there was another driver that went off. No, it looks like Brett Finucane just had to take... Oh, good, avoiding action. I tell you what, some of these AIs are brilliant at avoiding action and some of them are rubbish. But that was a brilliant bit. So that's rather interesting. Also, in the YouTube stream, Pochisk, sorry if I didn't pronounce that right, asks whether I'm using DX11 here, and I am indeed. So DX11 is being used. As you can see, we've got the dynamic weather settings employed. So that's what's going on here. As Craig Thomas took a brief look at Richie Speed for the lead of the race down into Lecomte on this first lap of the race. Of course, I paused the session while I went to see the replay, so we didn't miss anything. This is still the first lap of the race, and it's still Richie Speed leading from Craig Thomas here. And Thomas took a little look into Lecomte, but had to back out as he was put onto the wrong line, and ended up losing out on that first position there, as Richie Speed keeps it from pole position. Now, where are some of the drivers who were involved in those opening incidents being put down to? Is Luke Longnecker missing his front wing? No, he's still got his front wing there. It's just hard to see. Kwiatkowski is running 11th now, so Kwiatkowski is running 11th after those opening incidents. What about the other drivers who were affected? We've got Brett Finucane running in 22nd. He was the driver who did the amazing avoidance. Richard Chmielewski 23rd, and Eric Lebeau without his front wing is going to have to pit, and he is running in last position anyway. So an unclean first lap, couple of incidents up at Eau Rouge Radion, but still the front of the order largely unaffected. I think the top driver who had problems there, Eric Lebeau, went off from 8th position, so the top 7 have been unaffected so far in this very, very wet race. We're just coming up towards the very fast in the dry corner of Longchamp, the long double apexed left-hander, and this one scary in the dry. I Can't imagine how it would be in the wet, but all I know is you don't want to get over that curve on the outside. We saw that being demonstrated by John Persson in qualifying. He ended up going for a spin into the barrier, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more of that. Hopefully we don't, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did see more of that for the remaining few laps of the race. What's the gap for the lead as we cross the line this time around? It's 1.8 seconds, so the gap has been brought out rather nicely there by Richard Speed from Craig Thomas. Thomas building out a good lead here. And is everyone else... Oh, there's been another incident because Campillo's now last behind Lebeau, who'd lost his front wing. So let's pause the time and go back to see a replay of what's happened to Julian Campillo. There's been some sort of incident involving the number... Is that 17? It is. Now what's happened here? Is he just going to have a twitch? Ooh, yes. Did he get tagged from behind? It looked almost like he'd been tagged from behind. Spins back onto the track, luckily doesn't collect anyone. And then backs it into the grass just to make sure he doesn't get collected. Now, did he get tagged from behind? Watch the mirrors. I don't think he did. I think that was completely unrelated. He just had a twitch in the poor conditions and spun the car round, and as a result dropped down into last position. Right, we're now back to real time. Lebeau's been into the pits, Campillo isn't, so Campillo isn't going to be last for much longer. Let's look at the order and see who is actually close on circuit. It looks as if the field's largely spread out here on this opening lap of the race. I see a couple of moves going on down here. What about Hibbert and Suzuki? These two seem to be close according to the times, and also Ciarfallo and Kedzierski almost side by side behind them. And now this is where Kedzierski lost it last lap. Does he have similar problems this lap? No, he doesn't, so that's good. Now, Suzuki rather going defensive from Ciarfallo, going to the inside. Will he keep it there as we head down to Lecomte? Of course, Suzuki does have the slipstream here, but the slipstream isn't so effective in the wet because, as well as the slipstream, you also get blasted with a face full of water. So that's not really going to be such an advantage as would otherwise be. Big wiggle from Noel Hibbert. He's really bunching up this pack now, and Suzuki is really under attack from Ciarfallo, who goes to the outside and takes a look. This is the battle for 8th, 9th and 10th position here. And it remains the same for now, but Suzuki is having a look to the inside of Hibbert through the Bruxelles hairpin. Took a look, but it wasn't quite effective there. And a couple of guys going a little bit wide there, trying to look out of the spray of the cars ahead as we head through Pouhon now. And Hibbert goes very, very wide, takes a big chunk of oversteer, and Suzuki pops through. So Suzuki up into 8th position as Hibbert makes an error. Hibbert's really looked a bit unsettled on this lap and has now dropped behind Suzuki. And now, can he get it back in the remaining stages of this lap? Remember, he's got Ciarfallo right behind him, looking very aggressive on his rear end. And that can all change as Ciarfallo goes a bit wide. Kedzierski has a look, but doesn't manage to capitalise on that. Suzuki taking a very wide line through the start of Stavelot. That's what we call the karting line in weathers like this, where you go for the point on the track where you might find the most grip, the outside. Now up towards Blanchimont again. And again, differing lines between these two. Hibbert possibly more on the attack, and now Ciarfallo also defending from Kedzierski behind him. And this is a very, very tense race, because whenever you see someone go offline, you wonder whether they're losing control, and then well, they either do lose control or they keep it. And of course, it's very difficult to tell what they're doing sometimes, as now Ciarfallo sees his opportunity to get alongside Noel Hibbert for 9th position. They're going to be going side by side down towards La Source this time round. Ciarfallo to the outside And if he can kind of drag his way round, as Hibbard's going to be very careful on the inside. Well, that didn't happen. I was going to say that then it might be an overtaking opportunity. It's getting a bit close for second, and I saw, oh my word, there's a big gaggle of cars fighting down here. Who's involved in this? Elliot, Person, Tai Galval, Prokofiev. Wow, a lot of people involved here, and there's almost contact between these two white cars. One gets over the white line at Eau Rouge, at Radillon, and that's really not something that I want to be doing there. David O'Reilly might have had some sort of incident, because he's now dropped behind Campillo, and by quite a long way. Let's see what's happened to David O'Reilly on that lap. He's been off at Blanchimont. So David O'Reilly was running in 21st position, behind the number 22. Yeah, just has a big swap, goes onto the AstroTurf, spins the car around, no saving that, and then backs it into the barrier, trying to get it out of the way. And hopefully that hasn't done any rear wing damage. His rear wing certainly hasn't come off. There you see him thinking about having a look at the car ahead of him. Then he gets out over the AstroTurf, and there's no saving it. And then clouts the barrier. So a little bit of a messy race. A little bit of a messy race so far, but still, it appears that all cars are running. Eric Bow, of course, a long way down. Now it's close for second between Speed and Moss for the second and third position on the podium, and all it takes is for one mistake from Speed. And of course, in this weather, mistakes are very, very easy to make. Sometimes you just don't know where the grip is unless you experiment with it, and that's why you see drivers taking such different lines here. And of course, if you do find a patch which isn't anywhere near what you'd expect it to be in terms of grip, it's very easy to just loop the car around into a spin or into the barrier, and that's what they're obviously hoping doesn't happen, but that's what can happen sometimes, especially in weather like this. So Sam Moss in the number 31 still chasing down Craig Thomas in the number 96. And these two blue cars were about 0.4 of a second apart as they crossed the start-finish line last time around. And now Moss is just sizing him up, waiting for an opportunity to launch at second place. Third would be a great result in a field of 24 cars in weather like this, but of course anyone who's running third wants the opportunity to go for second. But Speed keeping it together and not giving Moss too many opportunities just yet, which is good driving from Speed. And now, as you can see, the rain has actually briefly stopped, so we're going to have a period of the track drying out. And if it dries out for the rest of the race, will we see some guys at the back of the field possibly taking a risk and switching onto slick tyres? Now that would be very, very interesting. But I can imagine that the guys at the front of the order won't take that risk rather. It does mean that it might be a difficult call as to well, whether the tyres overheat, because if the tyres start to overheat, being wet tyres on a dry track rather, that could get rather difficult. Now why? We've had a little... Oh, as Chmielewski's been off. So Chmielewski's been off. I saw him dropping down the order there. Let's see how that happened. This is at Blanchimont again. We're going to see a very classic... Oh my word, someone else has spun. Oh dear, there's been a big collision there actually, and several cars have gone off. So Chmielewski wasn't the only car involved in that. Let's see who was involved. So it was Galval, Person and Chmielewski. And what happened from on board Galval is that he just had a big dose of oversteer, and as a result, Person thought he could have a go, but he just got drifted into, and then he spun, and in avoidance, also off, went Chmielewski. Here you see it. He gets over the AstroTurf, which is still very wet, and he spins the car around, and then Campillo almost gets taken out as well. Now, one thing I was going to ask is why Theodorikos is right at the back of the order because he wasn't before, and it's another spin. He was running in 12th position. How has this happened? He's got on the white line on the exit. Oh dear. Oh, tags another car and spins it around. Very slow speed spin. Could have been a lot worse. It was Eric Elliott that he tagged. Here's it from on board. Elliott. Tag. There you feel it. Eric Elliott did well to hold batting weather like this. It was just that Theodorikos got over the white line and then into the gravel, and he had to wait for the entire field to go through before he could get it going again, and now he's a long way at the back of the order, except for LeBeau, who's had a pit stop. The battle for second getting ever closer. Moss on speed, and these Moss on Thomas rather, and these two certainly could change soon. Hibbard, Ciaufalo and Suzuki, and also Kwiatkowski now still fighting over 8th. And Kwiatkowski is up to 10th. And now Hibbard and Ciaufalo might go side by side into a roost. This would be interesting. Who's this going to play into the hands of? Someone I think is going to have to back out here, and indeed Hibbard does back out. And Ciaufalo now feels that he's capable of taking some curbing on the inside line there, so that's good to see. Ciaufalo takes a bit of the curb on the inside line and gets through the corner okay, ahead of Noel Hibbard still. How's the battle for second looking? It's still Moss behind Thomas. And these two still running head to tail. Ciaufalo again under attack from Hibbard. Hibbard up the inside line. And now he'll have the outside line for the second part of Lecomte, but the inside again because he's held on. So that's a good bit of driving from Hibbard. And will he get through on the inside? Well, they're still side by side, but again Hibbard will have the inside line as we head down towards Bruxelles here. And Hibbard, I expect, will just be able to... Ooh, he's really defending aggressive there, forcing Ciaufalo to the outside. And now Ciaufalo might come under attack from Kwiatkowski. He does. And Kwiatkowski gets through into 9th position. So Kwiatkowski in his ascent back to the front of the order possibly gets through into 9th position, but makes a slight error. Ciaufalo had a look, but no move came from that. And now Suzuki's having a look as well, but again has to back out. Longnecker and Calder also close on track, as are Carey and Allen. And still, of course, that fight for second place. Even though Richie Speed, you can see, is really getting away at the front of this order now in the number 13 car, which appears to be rather lucky for him. Just taking a look up through the order, Ciaufalo's had a spin. He was running right in that battle. Now, what has happened there? Was it contact with another car? It might well have been. We'll see what happened. No, he's just had a bit of a swap. Yep, just loses the traction on the exit of Pont and goes round right on the track, and that would have been a scary one. There you see it. Possibly had to brake due to the Kwiatkowski car ahead of him, and that. Whew, look at that in the spray behind. Some of the guys almost didn't see him. That was close. That was Sergio Galvao who almost didn't see him. And now Ciaufalo rejoins the field ahead of Campillo. And does Campillo get through? He does. Blast past him into Fagna. And that is that. Now Prokopiev, that's it, side by side with Finucane through Curva Poulfret, and gets to place. Finucane's done well. He came right from the back of the grid, so he's made up 9 positions, as everyone else has spun and he hasn't. So good driving from Finucane. Elliott and Suzuki very close on track. Of course, this battle between Hibbard, Kwiatkowski and Suzuki has been split up slightly. Suzuki had to slam on the anchors, I expect, to avoid the spinning car of... Oh, and it started to rain again as Elliott passes Suzuki. Started to rain again, so these wet tyres are going to come right back into their comfort zone. They're not going to overheat, I expect. And some of these guys will be thanking that, and other guys will be cursing it. Now, who's close on track? Longnecker and Calder still close for 6th position. and still a couple of close battles on track, but of course it's very difficult to battle in these conditions simply because of how wet it is. And I expect we are now on the final lap of the race here, lap 5, so this is the final lap of the race as the time is going to tick to 0 on this time round. Not many laps in this race, of course, because it is such a long circuit, but it's been a very exciting race with the weather coming into play and making it very, very unpredictable. And couple of spins, couple of accidents, but luckily it appears that everyone's going to finish this race so long as there isn't an accident on the final lap. And it's been a pretty dominated race as well by Richie Speed, who's been running away out front. And now, as you can see, it's really starting to chuck it down. So this is appalling weather on the final lap, and will it catch out anyone at the front of the order? This is very tense, and this could get very interesting here. Let's hope it doesn't, but it might. So, round Bruxelles rather, we're approaching the Pouin section of the circuit. Calder appears to be dropping back slightly from the long necker ahead of him. And this race has now ticked to 15 out of 15 minutes in. And it's very nearly over. The gap to the lead is 5.4 seconds at the front. So, really not much opportunity for things to change now at the front of the order. Richie Speed has been running away with this one and doing a brilliant job of it. We are now heading towards the final sector of the race, and I think that this is going to be a pretty simple task of just bringing it home now from Richie Speed. He's in the final sector now. 1 minute of the race to go approximately. He just needs to keep it clean. Just Blanchemont, and then the bus stop chicane to go for Richie Speed now in the number 13, which hasn't exactly been unlucky for him today. And there's Blanchemont, breaks for it, not taking any chances. You saw the front end dipping down. That shows that there was braking going on. And now up into the tight right-left of the bus stop chicane. Final corner now for Richie Speed. He exits, puts down the power, doesn't spin it around, and Richie Speed wins a dominant victory in the wet at Spa-Francorchamps. Brilliant result from Richie Speed, ahead of Craig Thomas, who holds on to second, Sam Moss in third, 8 Allen is going to cross the line in fourth, then it's Kalle Kauri, Luke Longnecker, who holds on just from Terence Calder, who got up a lot at the finish. Noel Hibbert had been battling race long with Wojtek Kwiatkowski, but he finishes 8th. Then it's Eric Elliott, Masatiri Suzuki, Niels Taig, Alessio Ramito, Nikita Prokopiev, that's a difficult one to say, Brett Finucane, Christina Hartmann, Sergio Galvao, Julian Campillo, Stephen Ciaufalo, David O'Reilly, John Persson, Richard Chmielewski, Nikos Theodoros, and Eric Lebeau, who was our only stopper after he picked up damage in an incident at Eau Rouge Radion on lap 1, and he is just coming around Blanchemont now. Let's all cheer him on as he rounds the final sector of the course. He's only got the bus stop chicane to go, and then that will be all of our finishers across the line. Ooh, as the replay derps out a bit, I was just clicking all the wrong buttons. Through the final corner now, and that brings a close to what has been a very interesting race. Skip Barber cars at Spa-Francorchamps in the wet. I bet that no one's ever done that before. And Eric Lebeau crosses the line in 24. So a brilliant result from Richie Speed to lead after 17 minutes of racing. And well done to everyone for finishing this race in treacherous conditions. Now, thanks to everyone who tuned in on the YouTube stream today, and we will see you in the next episode, which will be again in a week's time. Can't promise any time, but it'll be a week to today. Keep your eye open for that, and I will try to come up with an interesting race for you to see then. I hope this one was interesting enough, because it certainly was for me, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.